Have you ever walked away from someone in silence? Not the powerful, cinematic silence of a movie, but a quiet, hollow departure that felt more like a disappearance. You closed the door so softly behind you that you wondered if they even heard the click of the latch. You vanished from their life, hoping your absence would finally speak the volumes your presence never could. And yet, the echo you expected never came. There was no frantic call, no desperate message, no sign that a void had opened up where you used to be. And in that deafening quiet, a painful question began to burn. Did I even matter? If you have ever felt like a ghost in your own story, this is what you need to hear today. The pain you're carrying is not just from the ending. It's from the way it ended. It's the grief of being unwitnessed. It's the ache of a story left untold. Imagine for a moment that your heart, your true self, is an intricate room. A secret, beautiful room that you have spent your entire life furnishing. Inside are your deepest thoughts, your most fragile hopes, your childhood memories, your favorite songs, the scars you hide, and the dreams you whisper only to the dark. This room is uniquely, exquisitely you. When you love someone, you do something incredibly brave. You hand them a key to this room. You don't force them inside. You simply offer them the access, the trust, the invitation. You say, "Here, this is me, all of it. Please, come in, be gentle." But what happens when they take the key, put it in their pocket, and never once turn the lock? They admire the hallway of your life. They appreciate the curated facade you present to the world, the easy smiles, the agreeable nature, the strength that asks for nothing. They are comfortable in the entryway, but the door to the real you remains closed. They never ask what's inside. They never knock. They never seem to notice the profound world waiting just beyond the threshold. And so, you wait. You stand on the other side of the door, in that beautiful room, hoping they'll become curious. You might even start to change the room, moving the furniture you think they'll like closer to the door, hiding the parts of yourself you fear they'll judge. You quiet your own music, dim your own lights, all in the desperate hope that they will finally step inside. And when they don't, when you finally accept that they are content to love the idea of you without ever truly knowing you, you decide to leave. But how do you leave a house where you were never fully seen? In exhaustion and quiet heartbreak, you simply lock the door from the inside and vanish. You walk away in silence, leaving them with a key to a room they never tried to open. And the tragedy is, they may not even notice it's locked. They only notice the hallway is empty. Meanwhile, you are the one who feels trapped. You didn't just leave them. You abandoned that beautiful room inside yourself, leaving it dark and silent, filled with all the words that were never said. This feeling, this specific and deep-seated ache, is a language many of us have been taught to suppress. But here, together, we give it a voice. We explore the map of the human heart and find our way back to ourselves. If this is a journey you feel ready to take, if you are tired of feeling unseen and unheard, then I invite you to subscribe and join our community at Mind Decode Explained. We are not here to offer simple tricks or magic lines, but to walk with you as you rediscover the profound truth of who you are. Together, let's find the words, not for them, but for you. The silence we choose when we walk away is rarely born of strength. More often, it's a form of armor. We tell ourselves it's dignified, that it's the high road. But as the great researcher Brené Brown teaches us, what we often call dignity is actually fear. Fear of being seen as too much. Fear of being dramatic. Fear that if we finally opened the door ourselves and showed them everything in our room, they would only confirm our deepest terror, that it wasn't enough. So we say nothing. We turn our departure into a final, silent performance of the role we've been playing all along, the low-maintenance, easygoing person who doesn't need anything. We think this silence will protect us, but it does the opposite. It becomes a cage. When you leave without speaking your truth, you leave behind a vacuum. And human nature, especially a mind seeking to avoid accountability, abhors a vacuum. He will fill that empty space with a story that serves him. Perhaps his story is, she was always distant. I never really knew what she wanted. Or, she just disappeared. It must not have been that serious. He rewrites your ending to absolve himself of the responsibility of his own indifference. Your silence becomes his permission slip. He didn't fail to see you. You failed to show him. You see how that works? The narrative flips, and you, in your quiet pain, are left holding not only the grief of the loss, but the misplaced shame of not being worth discovering. This pattern is often rooted in our earliest experiences of love, in what psychologists call our attachment style. If you grew up learning that your needs were an inconvenience, you may have developed what is known as an insecure attachment. For those with an anxious attachment style, you might spend your life leaving the door to your room wide open, begging them to come inside, constantly pointing out the beautiful things they're missing, which can feel overwhelming to a partner who is afraid of depth. For those with an avoidance style, you might keep the door locked and barricaded, whispering through the keyhole that you don't need anyone to come in anyway, all while secretly yearning for someone to be curious enough to pick the lock. Both paths lead to the same lonely place, a room unwitnessed. Walking away in silence is the final act of this attachment trauma. It is the ultimate confirmation of a core belief. To be loved, I must minimize myself. To leave, I must erase myself. There is a common misconception, a thorn we must gently remove, that true strength is in enduring silently. We are told that love means being a pillar, a rock, a harbor. But as the pioneering psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk has shown, the body keeps the score. Every truth you swallow, every boundary you let dissolve, every time you wanted to scream, "See me," but instead smiled and said, "I'm fine," your body was listening. That unspoken pain doesn't just vanish. It settles in your shoulders as tension, in your chest as anxiety, in your stomach as a dull, constant ache. It becomes the physical manifestation of that locked room. Your silence isn't peace. It's a quiet, internal war. You didn't just walk away from him. You walked away from the chance to liberate yourself from the weight of all that unsaid truth. The great Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, which represents the parts of ourselves we deem unacceptable and therefore hide from the light of consciousness. Your beautiful, intricate room contains your shadow and your light. It holds your strength and your vulnerability, your joy and your rage. When someone has the key but refuses to enter, they are unconsciously telling you that they are only interested in the parts of you that are easy, the parts that don't challenge them. And when you leave in silence, you are unconsciously agreeing with them. You are conspiring in the abandonment of your own whole self. Jung famously wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Your pattern of silent departures is not your fate. It is an unconscious choice, and today, right now, we are beginning to make it conscious." So why does it hurt so profoundly? It hurts because every human being has a fundamental, primal need to be seen and known. Not just loved, but known. When you offered the key to your room, you were offering the most sacred thing you have, your inner world. Their failure to use that key was not just a rejection of a relationship. It felt like a rejection of your very essence. It's a wound that goes bone deep. The silence that follows is not a balm. It's salt. It validates the fear that maybe the room was empty all along. Maybe you were, in fact, nothing to write home about. But what if that wasn't the truth? What if the problem wasn't the room, but the visitor? What if you've been trying to invite someone who is terrified of rooms into the most sacred chamber of your soul? Some people are hallway people. They are comfortable with surfaces, with echoes, with transients. They lack the courage or the capacity for the depth you offered. Your silent departure allows them to remain a hallway person, unchallenged. You let them believe that your door was just another part of the wall. But there is another way to leave, a way that honors the room, a way that honors you. It doesn't involve screaming or shouting or begging. It involves something far more powerful, a quiet, clear, and unshakable declaration of what was real. It's time to stop disappearing. It's time to learn how to depart. We now stand at a threshold. We have explored the lonely corridors of silence and understood the deep ache of being unseen. We've seen how our past can teach us to lock our own doors and how the weight of unspoken words can settle into our very bones. And now, we arrive at the pivotal moment, the breakthrough. This is where we shift from understanding why we hurt to discovering how we heal. And the healing begins not with a magic phrase to win them back or a perfectly crafted line to inflict pain, but with a key. Not the key you gave to them, but the master key you have always held for yourself. The greatest misconception, the second thorn we must gently pull, is that closure is something someone else gives to you. We wait for an apology, an explanation, a moment of recognition from the person who hurt us, believing that only then can we close the chapter. But this is like waiting for the person who refused to enter your room to come back and admire the wallpaper. Closure is not an external event. It is an internal alignment. It is the moment you stop waiting for them to validate your room and you, yourself, walk through it, turn on all the lights, and acknowledge its beauty and its truth for you and you alone. So, what do you say before you walk away? You have carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken feelings. The answer is not to unleash all of them in a torrent of chaotic emotion. The answer is to distill them into one clear, calm statement of truth that does 3 essential things. It acknowledges what you gave, it declares what you are now choosing, and it releases them without resentment. Stand at the doorway, not in anger, but in a state of profound, quiet clarity. Look at them, not with hope for a different outcome, but with the peace of acceptance. And then, you speak the heart of the matter. The words will be your own, but the energy behind them is this: I want you to know that the door to me was always open. I handed you the key, hoping you would want to see what was inside. I spent a long time waiting in that room, hoping you would join me. And I've come to realize, with no anger, only sadness, that you were happy enough in the hallway. I can't live in a hallway anymore. It's not who I am. So I'm not locking you out. I am finally letting myself out. This room, everything that I am, is real, and it is precious. And now, I am taking it with me. Let's break down why this is so transformative. First, I handed you the key, hoping you would want to see what was inside. This is not an accusation. It is a statement of fact. It gently and irrefutably establishes the truth of your vulnerability and your intention. You are not blaming them for not entering. You are simply stating that the opportunity was there. This calmly dismantles any narrative they might try to build later, that you were closed off or that they didn't know. You are planting a seed of truth that their conscience will not be able to ignore, not with guilt, but with simple, undeniable clarity. Second, I've come to realize, with no anger, only sadness, that you were happy enough in the hallway. I can't live in a hallway anymore. This is the moment of compassionate detachment. You are acknowledging their limitation without shaming them for it. You are identifying a fundamental incompatibility. They are a hallway person, and you are a room person. It's not about good or bad, it's about fit. By saying, I can't live in a hallway anymore, you are taking radical ownership of your needs. You are not asking them to change or to become a room person. You are simply stating that you require more, and you are willing to go find it. for yourself. This is an act of profound self-respect. Finally, the most powerful part. So I'm not locking you out. I am finally letting myself out. And now, I am taking it with me. This completely reframes the act of leaving. You are not abandoning a shared space. You are reclaiming your sovereign space. The image is potent. You are not a ghost vanishing from their house. You are the owner of a precious sanctuary, carefully packing it up and moving on. It tells them, and more importantly, it tells yourself, that your inner world is not disposable. It is not something to be left behind for ruin. It is your most valuable asset, and it goes where you go. When you say this, you are doing what Carl Jung called making the unconscious conscious. You are taking all the quiet pain, the invisible waiting, the secret disappointment, and giving it a name. You are turning the lock with your own hand and stepping out into the light. This act is not for them. Their reaction is irrelevant. They might be stunned into silence. They might get defensive. They might not understand. It does not matter. Because the moment you speak this truth, you set yourself free. The click you hear is not the door to the relationship closing. It is the sound of the cage around your own heart springing open. You leave, not with a bang, not with a whimper, but with the quiet dignity of a person who has finally remembered their own worth. You leave them, not with a wound, but with a mirror. And they will look into that mirror in the quiet moments for a long, long time. They won't remember the fights or the drama. They will remember the woman who owned a beautiful room and had the courage to finally choose it over a man who was content to stand in the hall. And that is a memory that doesn't fade. That is an imprint that lasts a lifetime. And so, you walk. The final 10% of this journey is not about the leaving itself, but about how you step into the life that comes after. This is the empowerment. You have spoken your truth. You have turned the key. You have walked out of the hallway and closed the door with a quiet, resonant finality. What now? The first thing you will notice is the silence. But it's a different kind of silence now. It's not the hollow, anxious silence of waiting. It is the clean, expansive silence of sovereignty. It is the sound of your own soul, breathing a sigh of relief. In this new quiet, you begin the sacred work of unpacking your room in a new place. A life that is entirely your own. You will feel the grief. Do not mistake this for a sign that you made the wrong decision. You can mourn a home you have outgrown. You can miss the comfort of a familiar hallway even when you know it was leading nowhere. Allow the sadness. As Brené Brown reminds us, vulnerability is not weakness. It is our most accurate measure of courage. Grieving is the courageous act of honoring what was, so you can fully step into what is to come. Let the tears fall. They are not just for him. They are for the years you spent waiting by a closed door. They are cleansing waters, making space for new growth. This is your time to reacquaint yourself with the contents of your room. What music have you forgotten you loved? What dreams did you put on a high shelf to collect dust? What parts of your shadow, your righteous anger, your wild creativity, your unapologetic ambition have you been hiding? Turn the lights up. Open the windows. Let the air in. This is a process of remembering, of reclaiming. You will find that you are more interesting, more resilient, and more whole than you ever allowed yourself to be in that hallway. You must hold your departure with integrity. This means no checking their social media to see if they're suffering. No rereading old messages in a moment of weakness. No creating scenarios where they come running back, having suddenly understood the value of your room. To do so is to linger in the hallway. You have left. Keep walking. Your energy is now a precious resource, and it must be invested in building your new home, not in looking back at the old one. The most powerful statement you can make after leaving is to thrive, not as an act of revenge, but as an act of devotion to yourself. He will remember you. That is not a hope. It is a psychological certainty. He may not admit it, even to himself, for a very long time, but you have changed the framework of his understanding of love. You became the woman who did not disappear, but departed. You became the woman who did not demand to be seen, but who demonstrated her own value so clearly that her absence becomes a lesson. One day, perhaps with someone else, he will stand in another hallway and feel a deep, unsettling sense of dissatisfaction. And in that moment, he will remember the door he never opened. He will remember the woman who owned a room and had the courage to take it with her. But by then, it will not matter to you, because you will be busy living in a house you built yourself, with doors that swing open freely. You will learn to give the key only to those who have shown they know how to enter a sacred space with reverence, with curiosity, and with the intention to stay. And most importantly, you will never again wait for someone else to validate the beauty of your own room. You will live in it. You will cherish it. You will become it. Your journey was never about him. It was about you, coming home to the most important person you will ever know, yourself. The silence did not break him. It was breaking you. And your final words were not an ending. They were your beginning. Walk on with grace. Your whole life is waiting.